Good evening, everyone. It being 7:30 on Tuesday, September 5th, 2023, we'll begin our meeting of the Town Council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for all those who serve in our military at home and abroad and for their families. Thank you. Clerk Semino, can we have a roll call, please?
Certainly. Councilor Barica? Flaherty? Councilor Hume? Here. Councilor Mackin? Here. Councilor Maglio is presently not here. Councilor O'Brien? I'm sorry, could you say it again, please?
Present.
Thank you. Councilor Reynolds?
Here.
Councilor Ringus is absent. And Councilor Ryan?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Semino. We do have councilors participating remotely this evening, so therefore all votes will be by roll call. All right, we'll begin with our announcements tonight. I do want to make an announcement. The Braintree Community Partnership will be hosting a Braintree scavenger hunt on Saturday, September 30th, beginning here at 1:30 at Town Hall. They're asking people to please arrive by 1:15. You can register at Eventbrite. Again, that's a scavenger hunt, the Braintree, 4 people per team. There will be prizes, ice cream, clues all over Braintree, so it should be a really fun activity. Grab a team and come on out. And I also want to make an announcement that the Braintree Community Partnership will be hosting its 6th annual Community Heroes Awards for Substance Use Prevention and Recovery. That will also be taking place here at Town Hall on Wednesday, September 13th. From 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. It's one of the nicest ceremonies in town. Dinner is also included. Please RSVP by September 7th to Lynn Frano. That's LFRANO at braintreema.gov if you want to email, or you can call Director Frano at 781-794-8146. And again, that is the 6th annual Community Heroes Awards for Substance Use Prevention and Recovery. A really, really nice event. Encourage everyone to join. The town clerk has an announcement. Pleased to remind people that the municipal election will be held on Tuesday, November 7th. The last day to register to vote is October 27th. So please, if you are not registered to vote, please come down to Town Hall, or you can register to vote online at the Secretary of State's website. With that, I'm going to ask Chairwoman Hume with her announcement on update from the School Building Committee.
Thank you, Madam President. I am thrilled to announce that the brand new South Middle School first day for students is going to be opening tomorrow, Wednesday, September 6th. There was a ribbon cutting on Friday. Many members of School Building Committee, which I serve on as chair, and Director Ed Spellman, who's with us tonight, is the vice chair. Many members of School Building Committee, School Committee, there was counselors there as well, came to the celebration along with Principal Damon Rainey, Mayor Kokoros, previous Mayor Sullivan, previous Superintendent Dr. Peter Kurtzberg, and current Superintendent Jim Lee. Many, many people were in attendance. It's an absolutely incredible, beautiful building. I credit all of this to the voters of this town. It was the voters who voted for the debt exclusion and passed. Without that debt exclusion, the funding would not have been made possible. The council voted for the funding, but without the residents really stepping up and going to the polls and voting yes for our schools way back when they did, we would not be here today. I would not be making this announcement. Students from 5th through 8th grade would not be walking into a brand new school tomorrow morning. So this is the first entirely brand new school in Braintree in over 50 years, but it's also part of the partnership we've had with the Mass School Building Authority. over the last 10 years where they're partner with us, like up to 50%, sometimes more than 50%. East Middle School, they did that. They did a whole new, brand new addition, plus renovated the school. So this is an incredible opportunity, something the town we should be proud of. I'm so excited. If you get the opportunity, drive by, even looking at the building from the outside. It's an incredible what they've done to the landscape. I went to the old South, it was called South Junior High School. It's now South Middle School. But they did a fabulous job. So credit all those who were involved. And again, cannot stress enough the importance of the residents and what they did to make this happen. So thank you, Madam President. And then President Baraka was there on Friday as well. So thank you for that.
No, thank you so much, Counselor Hume. I think the pride in your voice is definitely mirrored by all of us here, and it's a huge accomplishment for the community, and thank you for your service on the school building committee, which I think you've served for over a decade on. So we appreciate that. 12 years. Go right ahead.
Another important piece, this project was on time, it was on budget, and there's actually $3.8 million in contingency still left. So huge credit to all those involved with the numbers and the due diligence and the project manager and Director Spellman in charge of municipal finance for your team and all that. So thank you.
Yeah, great event, and happy first day of school tomorrow, Braintree. Counselor Ryan.
Thank you, Madam President. Who has been on the School Building Authority for as long as I can remember, and for her leadership on that. And it's really nice today that we have a brand-new school in the town of Braintree. And I just want to say thank you for all your leadership and work you've been doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor Ryan. Any other announcements from counselors this evening? All right, seeing none, we will move on to our approval of minutes for May 2nd, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Thank you, Counselors Ryan and Hume. Clerk Semino, roll call to approve the minutes.
Counselor Baraka?
Yes.
Counselor Flaherty? Yes. Counselor Hume? Aye. Counselor Mackin? Aye. Counselor Maglio? Counselor O'Brien?
Aye.
Counselor Reynolds?
Aye.
Counselor Ringus is absent. Counselor Ryan? 8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to be moving on to our communications for this evening, and I'm delighted to invite Justine Huang, the president of Braintree, the Chinese American Association of Braintree, to the podium to tell us all about the work that her organization has been bringing to our community. Thank you for being here, Ms. Huang.
Can we start from the first page?
This is the first page, right here. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me just find it here. Let's go. Okay, you can arrow down.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President Meredith, to invite me here tonight to present the Chinese American Association of Braintree. And thanks for all the council give me the time slot and to present who we are and where we are today and our future outlooks of what we plan to do for the Braintree communities. Our story, just to begin with, I'm Justine Huang as the president of the clubs. We have Frank Pong, who has been experienced servicing the social elderly community before he retired for over 20-something years. He provides all the service that we need and looking for. And we will have Gary Young, who is a really active Asian community president in a different level, even in the state level perspective, as a Braintree resident, part of the vice president. And we have a young gentleman, Alex Chen, who is building all technology support perspective. to be our part of our vice president also. And we have Sammy, which she just came in with her kids after hockey practice. Sammy's working in Brooklyn Trust Bank, so Sam, it's great to have her as our additions, all town residents. And also we have Eddie Wu, who's our treasurer, is a manager for the East West Bank at Quincy's Kimmons Plaza there. So everybody except Frank is a Braintree resident. The club was together in May 23rd after the mayor has gave a proclamation for AAPI celebration in town Braintree in May 2023, and then we formed the club officially. We are a nonprofit organization registered 503C. So just want to give it who we are when we started, why we started. The issue is that Braintree resident as this morning, from 2010, we only have 4% Asian in town of Braintree as census. 2020, 20% of Asian in our community, and 10% speak Chinese language, different dialects perspective. And then we saw there's a need of bridging the gap between the Braintree community and the new immigrant, and somebody like me has living in Braintree for over 20 years. And so we all come to say, what can we help? So our main, what we do is trying to support, provide support in Chinese language for the different area of town Braintree. We promote culture exchange within town Braintree to special event, example, Lunar New Year and Autumn Festival, which is one of the autumn moon, August moon, your typical her, is one of the festival we're trying to promote. And we basically want go using community education to outreach information sections. So example, we run, our team meets once a month in here. Thank you for the town community and the mayor's office allow us to have this space as a new organizations. We bring in different topics that impacting the Asian community. So so the why we here was during Lunar New Year. Our organization was not formed yet. When I went to the mayor, say, everybody else doing this special celebration with 20%, we needed to show the town the diversity. So when we did our Lunar New Year partner, helping with the help of the mayor's office and the park department, we have over 500 people, and it was snow and people waiting in line for 20 minutes. So we realized that, you know, people in town in the South Shore community needed some diversity, and they enjoyed the performance and the ethnic food and different types. So that's where we started to form the community and want to try to give a way that people can reach out to us and learn about different cultures and trying to bring the diversity together. Our first major event is really the culture exchange perspective. Our members really enjoyed it, the 4th of July parade. This is most of them who has immigrant over here over 20 years. Even this is the first time they got a chance to walk into a town parade like that. And then we also got a chance to showcase our missions during the parade and see a lot of faces, different colors and different ethnicity and different background on the parade, which is eye-opening for most of our team members. And we also do outreach programs such as farmers market. We had a volunteer tent in the farmers market in July, and which is fun. And also we were able to reach out to some communities, so kids such as how do they use the chopstick, and some of the how do you cut certain vegetable, how we cook them, that type. So this is part of our outreach program to the community. And we actually also help the farmers market translate some of the procedure, how to purchase fresh produce with the food stamp program also. And from the community to the community education outreach perspective, we focus on well-being of mental health challenge, such as gambling issue in the Asian community. We have pamphlet, which we put outside the hallway out there for in the Chinese writing. A lot of people that go to casino really because they lack of activity or involvement in the community. After work, they just go to the casino. So this is where we're trying to bringing out awareness in the Chinese community. And we also, Frank is really heavily involved in the AAPI empowerment and diversity. So we also have the pamphlet out there, talk about how do we empower diversity in different levels, the senior, the youth, and the new immigrants perspective. And we also run program, example, Tai Chi. We have our teacher volunteer just keeping the senior active and giving a way to learn to be strong. And we had like fire department came in to talk about fire safety. We learn about Braintree history, and then currently we also learn about what's going on in the Braintree, just such as the dam got destroyed it, replaced it, that perspective. It's a lot of information that the community did not know about. We're trying to bring it to their table so they can go home to tell their grandchild, to tell their child. So in a way, if you're looking at typical Asian community, we have grandparents, the parents, and the kids. So this also helping them by educating them to open up the communication between different generations. And just want to announce our next event is where we talk about culture outreach is the September 10. We're going to have the Mid-Autumn Festival events in the French Commons, and I felt like this is perfect location because by learning the Braintree history, French Common is what the community is about. That's why French's wish was that never been used for any private residency and only for community. And I found it's a perfect place where we have this event, picture of everybody, a different background, the whole town, the South Shore community coming together, have an afternoon performance, entertainment, food, and learning some different cultures, perspective, art, and craft before going back to school. And we are really thankful that with local community, when we had this event, they're all supportive, all coming to help us plan, donate the money that we needed for these events. And so we were able, based on the donation we're going to get, we're going to donate, giving back to the community, the senior center, we're going to give them $1,000. And we're going to donate to the Veterans Affairs $1,000. And because one of the objectives was youth empowerment, we are going to also give $500 to the Braintree Asian Association clubs for the high school, and also we're creating 2 scholarships for the Braintree High School, just so that to promote the diversity and empowerment identity perspective. So we hope that by giving back to community is where we empower everybody, everybody coming together. So we also had Senator Walter Timothy coming to join us for this Sunday's event also. For the future work perspective is we're going to work with the Braintree High School on the youth development, the diversity. We're going to meet with our school superintendent regarding to how is our association able to help the Asian student in Braintree High School. Braintree School community. such as we were trying to get a speaker come in to talk about diversity empowerment for youth, because seeing my three kids already in college and they were afraid to identify their diversity, afraid to bring the culture as an add-on to the school community. That's where we found that having the diversity empowerment be part of the school's program would be great. And we're trying to also getting some tutoring assistance by having high school volunteer to helping younger generations. So example, as a new immigrant, the parents doesn't speak the language. Kids didn't know how to do homework. Where can they help? So we're trying to establish that type of tutoring service to connecting the high school and the middle school together. And as we talk about, we had the scholarship for high school ASA and also the general student who that work to promote diversity in the school. We had our monthly meeting in Chinese language. Most of them, when we had the English speaker, just like today, we had Jim coming to talk about voting, talk about how important local voting is and the procedure and how to find the resource. And also we had my coworker from New Balance talk about shoe healthy and proper feeding. So those type of information we try to bring in each time. And back to the voting, we're also going to work with Jim to help to provide multi-language support during the November 17. And we also have voter registration during the August Moon, the Mid-Autumn Moon Festival this Sunday, just to help everybody to easier way to learn how to vote and the importance of voting. One of the things that we really hope to do but did not get a chance yet is developing welcome package for new residents who had language barrier, especially in Chinese. As a new resident coming, how do they get the electric service? Where's the town hall? Many people that we found out they live here for 20 years never dared to step in town hall. So those type of information, we're trying to put it together for welcome new residents who did not speak the language. And we will continue culture awareness and bridge the gap between different cultures. I know in the mainstream TV, you'll probably see Chinese this and Chinese that. And then as a new immigrant, they never get a chance to get into the mainstream of the U.S. Perspective because they don't speak the language and they have the little corner. So this is one pieces that we continue to work is bringing the culture awareness between the mainstream American and the minority. And trying to bridging the gap, at least we're trying to educate everybody. And then last at all is continue giving back to the Braintree community. We exist because the support of the town and the community. So we will continue working on giving back and making sure that we are part of the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Justine. That was fantastic. And just to reiterate, oh, don't go away yet. We might have a few questions for you. Just to reiterate for residents, this coming Sunday, September 10th, French's Common from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Please stop by for the Mid-Autumn Festival. It's going to be lots of fun, lots of educational opportunities, and it's a way we can show support for the Chinese American Association of Braintree. So I would love to open it up to my fellow counselors. Counselor Ryan.
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to say congratulations for all the, to have such a new organization in town and to be doing so many good things that offer so much value to people, especially helping new people that really need to be shown the way and shown how their town, works and how it can work for them. I think it's wonderful, and it's really I had no idea that the population was up to 20. The Asian population was up to 20% in Braintree. That's tremendous, and I just think you're doing great work. how you're helping with veterans and elders and students and the tutoring program. It's just all such wonderful things, and it's wonderful work, and I hope that you continue to do it in any way we can be of any assistance. I think if you wanted to come here, I'm glad the president had you here tonight, and we can help spread your message. I think it's wonderful, and I'm going to try to come by the Mid-Autumn Festival Sunday as well. So thank you and good luck.
Thank you, Counselor Ryan. Counselors?
Started this association focused on Chinese language because all our board member is Chinese. That's only language service that we can provide, but we want to hold to be an example of different group of minority, and in the future could be an alliance or could be, we don't know where we grow, but at least we are the starting point and we welcome any type of language if that's a support. So. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thanks again for all the work you're doing in our community to make it the welcoming, inclusive place that we're always striving to be. So really appreciate you being here, and thank you for coming as well. Thanks, Justine. All right. Moving on now to our old business. The first item is 22012, Mayor Zoning Bylaw Text Amendment, Inclusionary Housing and Associated Revisions, or take up any action relative thereto. This is a public hearing that will be continued to November 8th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. I do want to let residents at home know, because this has been on the council agenda for quite some time, and that is because there are very specific guidelines to having to open a public hearing. However, this particular item is waiting on a feasibility study. That takes time, and as soon as all of the pieces are in place, it will continue to be on the agenda. So tonight, what we need to do is vote to open the public hearing, and then we need to vote to continue the public hearing without discussion. So thank you for bearing with us with this little pro forma item on our agenda tonight. So with that, 22012, Mayor, Zoning Bylaw Text Amendment, Inclusionary Housing and Associated Revisions, or take up any action relative thereto. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilors Ryan and Hume. Clerk Semino, roll call, please.
Counselor Baraka,
Yes.
Counselor Flaherty. Counselor Hume. Counselor Mackin. Counselor Maglio.
Aye.
Counselor O'Brien.
Aye.
Counselor Reynolds.
Aye.
Counselor Ringus is absent. Counselor Ryan.
Aye.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. And now is there a motion to continue the public hearing for 22012 to November 8th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m.? Thank you, Councilors Ryan and Hume. Clerk Semino, roll call to continue the public hearing.
Counselor Baraka.
Yes.
Counselor Flaherty. Counselor Hume.
Aye.
Counselor Mackin. Counselor Maglio.
Aye.
Counselor O'Brien.
Aye.
Counselor Reynolds.
Thank you very much. All right, well, moving on now to 23053, Mayor, Americans with Disability Act, ADA, Self-Evaluation and Transition Plan, or take up any action relative thereto. This is also a public hearing, so we will begin with a motion to open the public hearing. Is there a motion to open the public hearing for Order 23053?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you very much, and we will give Clerk Semino a moment for doing the tech work for us before we do a roll call. Thank you, Clerk Semino. To open the public hearing?
Yes. To open the public hearing, Counselor Baraka.
Yes.
Counselor Flaherty. Counselor Hume. Counselor Mackin.
Aye.
Absent. Counselor Ryan. 8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much. So we did have this at our Committee on Ordinance and Rules, and I would ask for, I believe, Counselor Hume in place of Counselor Ringus this evening for that committee's recommendation. Thank you.
Madam President, the Committee on Ordinance and Rules met August 23rd and voted unanimously for a favorable recommendation to the full council on Order 23053.
Thank you very much. And I do want to recognize this evening, we have our Chief of Staff, Margaret LaForest, with us, Mary Beth McGrath, the Director of Licensing and Inspections, and we have our ADA Coordinator here as well, Christina Zanitti. So thank you all for joining us this evening. Chief of Staff, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam President. And I'd also like to recognize Jim Arsenault as being a part of the team working diligently on the ADA plan. My gratitude on behalf of Mayor Kokoris to Chairman Ringus and to the Ordinance and Rules Committee for your recent review of this proposal. Tonight we have before you officially presented the town's ADA self-evaluation and transition plan. And we are asking for your vote on this evening. It is a bit time sensitive. The adoption of this plan opens up opportunities. This plan was funded with the Massachusetts Office of Disability Grant, and another MOD grant is available to us to implement some of the recommendations to the tune of $250,000. So that grant deadline is fast approaching as September 15th, and part of the criteria is having a plan adopted by this body. The ADA transition plan is available online to the public. Public input was, as you know, requested and involved in the process. It's 554 pages long. It is an extensive review of our municipal buildings and facilities. In addition, there's a spreadsheet that really lays out the priorities. We, as a team internally, did meet to have our initial review of how we can implement and what we can implement. Focusing on the areas that I identified as priority ones for safety and program access with the most impact. So we will be doing our due diligence in the next 10 days to finalize what those items going into the grant will be. At this point, however, I would like to turn it over to Director McGrath and ADA Coordinator Zanitti and introduce our consultant, and I'll let them share because it's truly been, as Director McGrath said, a labor of love for both of them in working on this project. I mean, but what a fantastic consultant we've had with the Institute for Human-Centered Design. So with that, Director McGrath, thank you.
Thank you for joining us this evening, Director McGrath.
Thank you. Thank you, Margaret, for the lovely introduction. She basically recapped what I was going to say, so I appreciate that. As she had mentioned, this has been a labor of love. We've been working on this for some time, and in 2022, on behalf of the town, the ADA coordinator applied for and received, was awarded, on behalf of the town, a $50,000 grant that would help us with the transition plan to bring it to fruition. We then engaged with the Institute for Human-Centered Design, which is an agency out of Boston that basically, this is exactly what they do. And this evening, I'd like to recognize Megan Dufresne, who works with that organization and was instrumental in helping to prepare the transition plan for the town. And I believe she does have a nice PowerPoint presentation to offer you this evening. Again, the plan itself is going to be a working plan. It's a very fluid plan and can continue to change as things are addressed and then new things that may arise. So it will be a very workable and fluid plan as we move forward once the town hopefully moves forward to adopt the plan. Okay? And shall I invite Megan up?
Thank you so much, and please join us, Ms. Dufresne. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
The other thing I did want to mention, I wanted to thank the Commission on Disabilities. They have been actively involved in this with us. And I don't believe that anyone was able to be here this evening on behalf of the Commission, but they have been working with us and have fully supported the Institute for Human-Centered Design being involved in this program. Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Dufresne, the floor is yours. Thank you for being here with us this evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Let me see. So my name is Megan Dufresne, and I'm just here to present on the ADA self-evaluation and transition plan. So what it is pretty much one part is an evaluation of program services and activities, which would be Section B of the report, and we looked at the infrastructure of policies and procedures that support program access for people with disabilities. We also evaluated several facilities around Braintree, including 9 municipal buildings, 19 parks, 3 police and fire buildings, 9 school buildings, and 1 cemetery. So the ADA self-evaluation is pretty much comprehensive data about the current state of compliance that identifies both issues that need corrective action and any gaps there are in policies and procedures. So Braintree falls under Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which requires that towns don't discriminate against people with disabilities in any of their program services and activities. And state and local governments need to take steps to examine all programs and establish a plan for compliance with the law. And so, as I mentioned earlier, one of our major reports was the Part B Policies and Procedures report, and we gathered this information from an ADA questionnaire that we developed, and we submitted it to all of the departments in the town. We received 8 responses. We also received feedback from the Commission on Disabilities. We looked to the town website for information, and we spoke with town employees. And so some of our findings when it came to policies and procedures, first of all, the town has met its obligation to designate a responsible employee by appointing Christina Zinity as the town's ADA coordinator. The second point, the town also has a grievance procedure for members of the public. The third point is regarding the notice of ADA requirements, and from the responses that we received by staff, it seems that the town does not post the ADA non-discrimination notices everywhere, that the public would typically seek information, including on social media. And so that's one of our recommendations, is to post the notice in more places. Regarding reasonable modification of policies, practices, and procedures, there's no evidence that the town was unable to provide a reasonable modification. However, with issues of access in older buildings, the town should understand that requests may be coming from the public for reasonable modifications, such as moving town meetings to an accessible location. With employment, there's no evidence that the town has failed to provide reasonable accommodation to its employees. And finally, with regard to effective communication, from the questionnaire and responses that we received, as well as the town's website, where it was mentioned in both the ADA notice and grievance procedures that the town has pledged a commitment to provide effective communication. Our organization, the Institute for Human-Centered Design, one of our projects is the New England ADA Center, and we do offer training to the town. If you'd like to take us up on it, we'd be happy to have one of our ADA specialists train all members of departments who are dealing with the public, because I know that effective communication can be kind of a difficult concept. So the basis for our self-evaluation, we looked pretty much at the dates the buildings were constructed as well as or renovated, and if they didn't comply with the 2010 with the ADA, the old 1991 ADA, then we are saying that they need to be brought up into compliance with the 2010 ADA standards, as well as 521 CMR, which is the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board. And so with each building, we submitted a report, which is pretty much in narrative format, and it includes basic information about the building, such as the date of construction, renovation, the location of entrances and exits, information about outdoor amenities such as parking, then looking at the interior layout and vertical circulation, as well as what programs take place in each part of the building or facility. From there on, the report it outlines key accessibility issues that we found during survey. And the second part of each kind of survey includes a catalog, which is pretty much an illustrated database of each element that is out of compliance with regards to one or more of the standards, so that each of the records includes an exact location, a floor, an element such as is it a door, is it a toilet room issue, and all that, as well as it will call out the exact issue that's wrong with any relevant measurements, and it will provide recommendations. So the three strategies to ensure access to programs, services, and activities are one, you could relocate programs, services, and activities within the current facility to an accessible location. Two, you could choose to relocate programs, services, and activities to another facility. Or three, you can renovate the facility in order to ensure access to programs. So for the self-evaluation, I just have a few examples. So one of them is from Town Hall here, and I just wanted to point out a few of the issues that we found. With the ramp outside, we found that the slope is excessive and the handrails do not extend an adequate amount, as is required in both codes that I discussed. Also, on the side of the ramp, on the left, there's no edge protection, meaning that a person using a wheelchair could kind of roll one of their wheels off the ramp. The second image in the top row shows the main entrance, which is of all stairs, and what we do need to see at buildings where all of the entrances aren't accessible, we need to see directional signs at inaccessible entrances, directing people to the nearest accessible entrance. And we also need to see signage with the international symbol of accessibility at the accessible entrances. Throughout Town Hall, we found some doors had non-compliant hardware that would be difficult for people with arthritis or limited dexterity to turn. We do see that you have an assistive listening system here and upstairs, but the main thing that is missing is that there needs to be signage showing the public that you have the system and that they know, they can ask for assistive listening devices. Then the last picture shows service counters. We found many were higher than allowed for wheelchair users. And then my second slide is looking at one of the schools that we surveyed. It's Flaherty Elementary School. And some of the issues that we found included issues with door maneuvering clearance that would cause difficulty for people who are using wheelchairs to be able to open the door. This is to the main office. Also, with egress signage, based on the ADA, you need tactile egress signage with raised characters and braille at every egress door. In addition, at doors that aren't accessible, you would need directional signage directing people to the nearest accessible exit. And in Massachusetts, as of if it were renovated after 2006, you would need an illuminated exit sign with the international symbol of accessibility at accessible exit doors. The last picture in the top row shows a set of stairs from Flaherty Elementary School. We did find that there were several sets of stairs that had non-compliant handrails, which would be handrails on both sides. The first picture in the second row shows the auditorium, and what was lacking in the auditorium was an accessible route to the stage, as well as lack of an assistive listening system. The middle picture in the bottom row shows the nurse's office toilet room, which we feel is an important program that all schools should have at least one accessible toilet room by the nurse's office. And so this, it looks like it was attempted. There's an attempt at a grab bar, but it's just not large enough for someone in a wheelchair to use. And the final thing is looking at classrooms that have sinks. Within our study, we looked at one of each distinct type of classroom. So one sink for one classroom for each grade, or any unusual subject such as art or science, and that at least one of each type should have an accessible sink that has toe and knee clearance. We looked at several outdoor areas, and some of the issues that we found were lack of accessible routes to and around playgrounds, such as at Abraham Lincoln Park. In French's Common, we were happy to see the accessible route around to different elements. However, this bleacher needs to be treated as an assembly area where it would need to have wheelchair spaces on a firm, stable, and slip-resistant surface that would be seated alongside companion seats. So the next image shows Madalena Park, and we feel that benches are an important program in parks where a lot of people with disabilities will need access to benches, and so we recommend that one bench in each distinct area of each park be on an accessible route. At Penniman Park, we found excessive cross slopes, which can make it difficult for people with mobility disabilities and wheelchairs to navigate the route. At Smith Beach, we have a picture of a picnic table in the bottom row. We recommended that in each distinct picnic area that there be at least one accessible picnic table to provide program access. Then the middle picture shows Watson Park. There needs to be accessible routes to all areas of sport activity, such as to baseball, softball, soccer fields, as well as to team seating areas and practice areas and places like that. And finally, the image is of Irwin Davis Park, and there's lack of accessible parking. This parking lot isn't marked, but even if a parking lot is not paved, it's still required to have accessible parking spaces. Another component of our study involved looking at findings from 2019 on curb ramps and sidewalks based on a previous study, and giving priority to giving our recommendations for priority to the town on which sidewalks and curb ramps the town should focus on repairing first. And the way we submitted a GIS map to the town with 3 different line weights or 3 different priorities of how the town should prioritize fixing the public streets. And this was pretty much based on routes between important areas within the town, including parks, municipal buildings, schools, places of worship, elderly and nursing homes, grocery stores and pharmacies, libraries, healthcare facilities, and public housing. So the self-evaluation and transition plan also includes a self-evaluation report, which it has an executive summary and a legal overview report. And the second image shows the transition plan spreadsheets. And so these are Excel documents that could be used as a living document that the town is able to update and check off issues as they complete them. The green portion on the right-hand side is kind of the portion the town can fill out in order to say when a repair is scheduled to be completed and who's responsible for it. We also have recommended priorities based on the issue, so that if it's a program access or safety priority, that would really raise to the top. The second most important priorities would be signage and navigation, and then we have additional access and best practice are things that are not required by law, but we recommend it to, I guess, make the town more inclusive. So the self-evaluation and transition plan goals are that all the town's programs, services, and activities, when viewed in their entirety, are readily accessible to and usable by people with disabilities. The main priority is to ensure program access with a goal of equal participation by people with disabilities. The transition plan provides an implementation strategy that can be integrated into town planning and budgeting. And the ultimate goal is that all residents, regardless of ability, feel that they know about and can participate in all that the town has to offer. We did see some good examples from around town, and we always like to bring those up so that the town can consider replicating them and using them as examples. One thing that is handy for many people in toilet rooms is shelves, and this first image shows a toilet paper dispenser that has a shelf on top, which could be utilized by, not just people with disabilities, but a lot of people who are carrying things into the toilet room. Then we did see a team seating area that had clear floor space alongside it. This is something it's an issue we normally don't see in cities and towns where they provide a wheelchair space alongside team seating. So this was good. With fire extinguishers, we always recommend recessing the fire extinguishers wherever you can, because otherwise they can act as protruding objects that people who are blind or low vision or who may be on their cell phones could walk into and injure themselves. Then also at the Department of Elder Affairs, we did see clear floor space alongside a bench, which we recommend having this so that a person using a wheelchair could sit shoulder to shoulder with a person seated on the bench. And finally, at the top of the entrance ramp to Town Hall, we do see this sign saying that it's an accessible entrance, and so that lets people know ahead of time that this is going to be accessible and they won't need to backtrack if they try to go this way. They won't need to turn around and go back up, and so this is another really good example. And so thank you. It's been a pleasure working with Braintree.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Frayne. With that, this is a public hearing. Are there any members of the general public wish to speak? Okay, seeing none. I would like to turn it over to the council for comments or questions. Councillor Hume?
Thank you, Madam
Go
President.
right ahead.
Mr. Fraines and members of the Commission on Disabilities, the self-evaluation plan. I serve on the ordinance and rules, so heard all the presentation and more. Tremendous job. Like, I've served on the Special Education Parent Advisory Council when I was a school committee representative. Kristen Zaccello, who also served on that as the chair, was on school building, worked as our first ADA coordinator, was going to be here tonight to show her support, couldn't. There were many, many, many people who've been advocating for this for years, and it didn't happen. So I congratulate all of you and commend all of you, and for the grant money and for our ADA coordinator and getting this done and being the owner of this. This is such a well overdue project that this town has needed and will serve so many. And your comment about training the department heads, I hope the mayor's office takes you up on that, because the more we can train and educate people, the more inclusive we will become as a community. We are an inclusive community, but we're not doing enough. This is going to be a tremendous help to this community, tremendous asset. To DPW Director Jim Arsenal, I understand your team has been a part of this as well and is going to be going through the list. I know some of the items at the Flaherty School have already been addressed because they did some roof repair and did this, so we're getting there. We're not quite there yet, but again, I can't thank you enough. This is an incredible document for those at home. I hope you look online, look at this, educate yourself, because it's just the little things that could help somebody that you might not know you're excluding them from entering a building, whether it be a private business, public business, all that. So great job. Appreciate all the hard work.
Thank you, Councilor Hume. Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to echo the same comments my fellow counselor just mentioned. This is long overdue. I've been involved with the council for a very, very long time. We've had some great organizations in town. Councilor Hume mentioned CPAC, and we've had people that have done a great job. We have some very active people in town with disabilities, and they've been asking for something like this for a very long time. We have councilors that are concerned with different access around town buildings and the residents in general. So it's something that's long overdue. It's a great, it's wonderful that we're getting funding to pay for some of these things. But the most important thing is that we have, the term was used, a living document that can be used when we have projects for buildings, for roadways, for parks, that we can have this document, that we can cross it off that we did it, we can know it's on our radar that we need to do it, and we can add things that we discover new things that need to be done as well. So I'm really excited that we have that in place. And I think it's great. It's a really great thing for the town, so I want to commend everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Ryan. Councilor Flaherty.
Presentation. The work that you've done on this document is extensive. It's quite thorough, and we are a community that really needs that kind of guidance. So I'm very grateful that we've finally been able to tackle it. But I heard a lot about it all about it really, in the ordinance and rules meeting where this was presented, but I do have some questions. So with regard to the sidewalk improvements that were displayed on the slide, with regard to those, is it just one side of the road that you're recommending needs improvements, or is it both sides of the road?
I would say both sides of the road.
Does the extent of the improvements depend on the location, or are you basically recommending a comprehensive demolition of the existing sidewalk and a replacement of the new sidewalk in all those places?
Well, that's kind of a tougher question. It would really depend more on what the condition is. There may be some that may be easier to fix by just patching things, but without, seeing each location, I wouldn't know whether it would include a fully, redoing the sidewalk.
Okay.
A sidewalk question? Just speak into the mic, please. Thanks, Director.
DPW Director and also resident, so 37 Old Coach Road. So We are doing an inventory of all the sidewalks in town, and we've got a lot of data already, so pretty soon we'll be able to look at priorities and what, there may be portions of roads that need repair and portions that don't, and so we'll have that information fairly shortly. So I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, I have actually another question for you, Director Arsenault, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
As we were going through the budget discussions in May, we had a lively and robust discussion about how funding was going to be allocated to ADA improvements in the budget. And one of the things that you didn't have at that time was this document, which we're going to vote on tonight. Mm-hmm. So my question for you is, now that you have it and you've been able to look at it in the same way that we have been able to, and maybe even for longer, to what extent do you think that the adoption of this document will alter your plans for the fiscal year ADA spending that we just started in July?
Well, obviously, we're hoping, as was indicated, that we get some grant money in addition to it. But, and also we would probably, would like to eliminate some of the more, the areas of bigger concern. And we've been working extensively trying to get those areas to be prioritized. And I think it's, as was mentioned, it's a great tool. It's a phenomenal tool to be able to say, hey, these are the areas where it's very concerning. These are areas where we have concerns, but we maybe can wait a little bit, and then there are areas where we can take a little bit more time. And so this is a really good tool for the community to really put the emphasis on areas where have a high priority. And I would believe that most of the funding should go to areas of high concern, yes.
If we are fortunate enough to be awarded this grant money, which we will apply for, and I sincerely hope that we will be, but that remains to be seen. If we are fortunate enough to be awarded it, will that be used in place of the money that was budgeted for ADA improvements, or will it be used in addition to that money?
I would think that we would prioritize the items of most concern. So even if we didn't get awarded the money, we would find a way to try to prioritize some of the areas where we have concerns. But the good thing about having, or the bad thing in the same sense, I guess, is it gives you priority. So we know that those are areas that really need to move on. So it does help in the grant opportunity spectrum. So, but we would want to emphasize areas of high concern, of course. So. For all of it.
Okay.
Want to address the council?
Thank you. If I may, Madam President, through you to Councilor Flaherty, just to give some context here. So our internal team, myself, Director Arsenault, Christina, Mike McGurty, Chris Griffin, I'm trying to think who else had joined us, had reviewed the deep dive onto the spreadsheet, right? And the grant application is MAUD funded this transition plan. Now MAUD wants you to implement what's in the transition plan. So as we talked about what the priorities are for the grant application, I think we were looking kind of above and beyond what we were previously looking at for our ADA plan. How they prioritize things, for example, there was a lot of signage. So it was kind of some of what we were calling like the low-hanging fruit, right? This is a sign, it needs to be installed, needs to be identifying areas, has a low cost to acquire, low cost of labor that we already have working within the school systems. Secondary, there was a lot of laboratory improvements needed. It was identified, and it was, you just see the financial column on the spreadsheet as well, right? It was a couple $1,000, and as Mike McGarty was looking through that, he thought, oh, this is, to look at the spreadsheet and say, this is what it is going to be, this is what it is going to cost, without having that deep understanding of that particular project, we really reviewed at our priorities, looking at the programs identified as safety priority ones for our schools and our municipal buildings, and also looking at other revenue sources to support the broader needs. So there was a lot of conversation, for example, of the elementary school entranceways, and that was a lot of on the internal team, like, oh, this is our priority, this should be our priority, this will have a great impact, and we've been wanting to do it for a long time, but that was scored lower, right? So we had a deep our first deep dive into what our priorities are, what to request for the funding, and then also looking at alternative funding sources across the town to have that bigger impact. You know, to your point, we've committed $250,000 in capital funds. Now we're going to be requesting an additional $250,000 in capital funds. We're going to prioritize what this would be in the grant funds. I don't know that we're going to get 250. We might get 50. We might get 75. We're not quite sure what to expect first time going forward. But what other resources do we have? For example, the community preservation funds. There's a significant amount in the Parks and Recreation space of prioritized improvements. So for us, we want to be financially prudent and look at, well, let's not utilize the grant application for those improvements because we could seek funding from the community preservation to complete those. So again, it was a first preliminary meeting. We spent about an hour on it just this past week after the O&R. We wanted to have the opportunity to hear from the consultant to get that presentation.
Just as for the public, so tonight what we're voting on is the adoption of the overall plan, and we're hopeful, as you can hear from some of the questions, that we can get some of the specifics once they are moving forward from your team, from the mayor's staff and office on how those priorities are being sussed out. But tonight, we're just overarching general plan and the information from Institute for Human-Centered Design. Councilor Flaherty, did you have anything else? Thank you. Okay. Councilor Maglio?
So I do want to spend a minute talking about the process of how to make decisions that came about as part of this plan, which for me was very helpful because when you look at something like this, you think, how are we ever going to do any of it? Never mind some of it, never mind most of it, never mind all of it. And so what was really helpful is when you and the team of consultants from your institute talked about the first one being safety risks. The very first priority is to prevent harm. And that means throughout town, prevent harm for everyone. The second was access to programs and services is more important than doing an entire building renovation. And I think that's something that we need to remember because when a building needs to be renovated and people can't access it and the building, it goes on for years and years that we don't have the funding or we don't have the plan, there's people that are unable to access for all of those years that we're waiting for those renovations to happen. So that's why that's at that second tier. It's not about safety, but it's about access to the services and programs in the town that you live in. And then the third is around public accommodations, which are all those other places that people use, travel, go to, etc. So that for me was really helpful, and that kind of a metric or rubric in order to figure out what the levels of priority are part of the report that was submitted and that is online. And for me, that just leaves three quick questions about this. One, that sort of relates to, actually two that relate to something that Councilor Flaherty brought up is, I guess, what do we do about roads where there are no sidewalks? Like, what is just the general prevailing opinion in the ADA community around it? I don't know if I think I'm kind of asking the consultant that.
If I may, Counselor, understanding what's before us tonight, right, is a specific plan that was specifically reviewing facilities, and we're talking about decades of infrastructure that we need to bring up to modern standards in compliance with ADA, right? So the consultant wasn't engaged to that. I mean, I'm glad to have her answer your general question, but understanding tonight we have a separate program. Director Arsenal talked about what we're doing with our sidewalks. I guess I just wanted to keep it on track for the ADA plan. Sure.
Expertise or guidance on that.
I wish we could recommend sidewalks when there aren't any, but generally, no, we can't. If there's no sidewalk, then oftentimes there's no space for a sidewalk, and so, yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, if you're able to fit a sidewalk, I would say that's great, but, you know.
Curious because of, in East Braintree, there are very few sidewalks. So that was one question. The second one is just the clarity around the grant that we're applying for. Those new funds won't supplant funds that have already been designated, right? Okay. Okay, and then my third comment, and this came up at the Ordinance and Rules Committee meeting, and I just want to put this out there as a reminder that part of the whole piece around the safety risks and preventing harm, for me, I think about emergencies, and I think about emergency planning. And one of the comments that were made at the meeting is that people who are most vulnerable in climate and other emergencies are those with disabilities. And so as we think about evacuation plans for the town, as we think about safety planning and emergency planning, none of that was in this report and proposal. And so I don't want us to think that adopting this means we're all set, we don't have to branch out, we don't have to look at other really important priorities. We do, but this is a great first step in addressing some really important issues. So I thank you very much.
Any other comments or questions from the counselors? Okay. I'd like to just take a second. About 12 years ago, we actually, on personal note, worked with the Institute of Human-Centered Design for my own house, and I know that they do first-rate work, and I'm delighted that they've partnered with the town. And I just want to take a second to share my own story about disability, because what I think is sometimes overlooked by those of us who are lucky enough to be able-bodied is the ripple effect that disability has beyond the one individual. So about 14 years ago, maybe now, one of my own children had a surgery as related to a disability that left him in a wheelchair for about 3 months. He was in the 3rd grade at the time. He could not attend his wonderful and accommodating elementary school because he couldn't be in his wheelchair. So he was at home with the tutor, away from his friends and his teachers. My husband had to take a leave of absence from his job to be with him. And of course, these are all things that we do as parents, and the incredible staff at the elementary school could not have been more generous. But the point of this is that accessibility needs stretch far beyond one child or one individual. They impact the entire ecosystem of everybody's families, and beyond that, our entire community. So having a completed plan that we can prioritize and really begin to chip away on the areas that require universal design and accessible improvements, it's doing a service for the entire community, because every one of us is just one accident, one diagnosis, one stroke of bad luck away from needing accessibility and support. So again, this is truly money well spent that will support our entire community, able-bodied and otherwise. And please, I'm urging residents, take a look at the website, take a look at the spreadsheet. Let us know what your priorities are, because the people with the lived experiences are the ones who know best. So I will fully be supporting this plan this evening. I'm really looking forward to getting the updates, and thank you for the time. Is there a motion to close the public hearing on Order 23053?
So moved.
Clerk Semino, roll call to close the public hearing.
Counselor Baraka?
Yes.
Counselor Flaherty? Counselor Hume?
Aye.
Counselor Mackin? Counselor Meglio?
Aye.
Counselor O'Brien?
Aye.
Counselor Reynolds?
Aye.
Opposed?
And with that, is there a motion for Order 23053?
Motion that in accordance with the provisions of Title II of the American with Disabilities Act, ADA, the Town of Braintree through the Braintree Town Council adopts the ADA transition plan as prepared by Institute for Human-Centered Design. So moved.
Thank you, Councilors Ryan and Hume. Clerk Semino, roll call, please.
Verica?
Yes.
Counselor Flaherty? Counselor Hume?
Aye.
Counselor Mackin? Counselor Maglio?
Aye.
Counselor O'Brien?
Aye.
Counselor Reynolds?
Aye.
Counselor Ryan?
Aye.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Frame, for being here, and please pass our gratitude on to your colleagues. Okay, moving on to 23054, National Grid petition, Why Not Road, or take up any action related thereto. I will turn to Councilor Ryan, Chairman of the Committee on the Department of Public Works, for their recommendation on Order 23054.
Thank you, Madam President. Earlier this evening, the Committee on the Department of Public Works met and unanimously voted to recommend favorable action to the full council for 23054, National Grid petition, Why Not Road.
Thank you very much. Anyone from the mayor's office who wishes to speak, or National Grid? Okay. Seeing none. Anyone from the council? Councilor Ryan?
Thank you. So they need to replace 550 feet of 2-inch bare steel, 20 feet of 2-inch coated steel, and 10 feet of 2-inch plastic steel. This is to upgrade the system in this area just to make things safer. The street was micro-surfaced in 2015, so it's not under the moratorium. So I'm going to get into the specifics when I make the motion. So there's really no issues with the moratorium, and this is a good job to do.
Thank you for clarifying that, Councilor Ryan. Any other councilors? Councilor Ryan, motion please.
Motion to relay approximately 550 feet of 2-inch bare steel from 1927, approximately 20 feet of 2-inch coated steel from 1969, and approximately 10 feet of 2-inch plastic from 2015 gas main, with approximately 580 feet of 2-inch gas main and Why Not Road from the existing plastic to the end of the main at the house number 49 with staff recommendations. Beld has no utility conflicts with this. The DPW has reviewed the subject petition and accompanying plans for the gas main replacement on Why Not Road. The work is being proposed as part of a program to eliminate aging gas infrastructure. Why Not Road is not subject to the excavation moratorium, having been resurfaced by overlay and microsurfacing in 2015. As such, the DPW recommends that petition be approved. If so granted, contain the following conditions. A temporary patch shall be placed immediately after the work. The street excavation should be saw cut, backfilled, and compacted in 8-inch lifts, paved to match the existing asphalt depths with minimum depth of 4 inches, and 2-inch lifts to match the existing street grade. After maintaining the temporary patch through one winter, National Grid must return the following spring to perform a permanent trench repair on all disturbed roadway segments. The permanent patch should be an 8-foot wide mill and overlay to a pavement depth of 1.5 inches. If the edge of the permanent patch falls within 2 feet of the roadway gutter, the patch should be extended completely to the roadway edge. Tack coat should be applied to milled surfaces and joints prior to paving. Finished joints should be treated with a rubberized asphalt sealer. They also recommend the following requirements be added to the permit. National Grid must arrange a pre-construction meeting with Braintree DPW to discuss utility core assignment. New gas mains must not encroach on any utilities, and they have the standard language that the contractors can't shut down the roadways. So moved.
Thank you, Councilors Ryan and Hume. Councilor Ryan?
And at the meeting today, we discussed with National Grid staff. We went through all the conditions, and they agreed to all of them.
Clerk Semino, roll call vote, please.
Counselor Verica?
Yes.
Counselor Flaherty? Counselor Hume?
Aye.
Counselor Mackin? Counselor Maglio?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Counselor Reynolds?
Aye.
Counselor Ryan?
Aye.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much. 23055, National Grid petition Morrison Road, or take up any action related thereto. Councilor Ryan, your recommendation from the Committee on the Department of Public Works, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Earlier this evening, the Committee on Department of Public Works met and voted to make a unanimous recommendation to the full council to approve 23055 National Grid petition, which is to relay about 630 feet of 2-inch, replace it with, to relay approximately 630 feet of 2-inch coated steel with approximately 630 feet of 2-inch plastic gas main from Adams to Drinkwater Ave, and to relay approximately 420 feet of 2-inch coated steel with approximately 420 feet of 2-inch plastic gas main in Drinkwater Ave. So this is to upgrade aging infrastructure. There's no issues with street moratoriums. The streets were done in 2010 and 2003, so there's no issue there, and we recommend favorable action to the full council. So,
Thank you, Councilor Ryan. Any questions from the council? Councilor Ryan, a motion, please.
so the motion is to relay approximately 630 feet of 2-inch coated steel from 1957 with approximately 630 feet of 2-inch plastic gas main on Morrison Road from Adams Street to Drinkwater Ave. Relay approximately 420 feet of 2-inch coated steel, 1957, with approximately 420 feet of 2-inch plastic gas main in Drinkwater Ave from Morrison Road to Elm Street with staff recommendations. Beld has no conflicts with this location. DPW has reviewed the subject petition and the accompanying plans for the gas main replacement on Morrison Road and Drinkwater Ave. The work is being proposed as part of a program to eliminate aging gas infrastructure. Neither Morrison Road nor Drinkwater Ave are subject to the excavation moratorium, having been resurfaced by reconstruction in 2010 and 2003 respectively. As such, the DPW recommends that the petition approval, if it is be so granted, contain the following conditions. A temporary patch shall be placed immediately after the work. The street excavation should be saw cut, backfilled, compacted, and 8-inch lifts paved to match existing asphalt depth with a minimum depth of 4 inches and 2-inch lifts to match the existing street grade. After maintaining the temporary patch through one winter, National Grid must return to the following spring to perform permanent trench repair on all disturbed roadway segments. The permanent patch should be an 8-foot wide mill and overlay to a pavement depth of 1.5 inches. If the edge of the permanent patch falls within 2 feet of the roadway gutter, the patch should be extended completely to the roadway edge. Tack coat should be applied to milled surfaces and joints prior to paving. Finished joints should be treated with a rubberized asphalt sealer. Also recommends National Grid have a pre-construction meeting with Braintree DPW to discuss utility corridor assignment. Means must not approach on any existing utilities. They also have a standard limit. They're not allowed to shut down any roadways. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Hume. Councilor Ryan.
And the National Grid representative in the DPW meeting tonight agreed to all the conditions that are laid out in this petition.
Clerk Semino, roll call, please.
Councilor Baraka.
Yes.
Councilor Fleet. Aye. Councilor Hume. Councilor Mackin.
Aye.
Councilor Maglio. Aye. Councilor O'Brien.
Aye.
Councilor Reynolds.
Aye.
Councilor Ryan.
Aye.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to 04923, Council President Powers and Sullivan Audit Review, FY 2022. We do have our Powers and Sullivan audit team here, Mike Nelligan and Romino Memelli. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening. The public is aware the audit report that there will be discussed tonight pertains to the time period between July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. All councilors have received both printed copies of the report at our August 1st council meeting as well as electronic copies. So I know a brief overview from Powers and Sullivan, and then I'll open it up to the council for questions. So thank you again for joining us.
Okay, thank you, Madam President, as well. My name is Michael Nelligan, and my co-partner here is Romina Memelli. We're representatives from the independent audit firm of Powers and Sullivan, and we've been hired to audit your financial statements and your single audit report for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2022. So the town prepares a annual comprehensive financial report, and this is submitted to the Government Finances Officers Association for an award program. The report is put together in accordance with their standards and GASB standards. GASB is the Government Accounting Standards Board, who sets accounting pronouncements and standards for governmental entities. It represents 12 required sections, and the report is graded on those 12 sections. The town, I'm pleased to report that the town has received the award for the previous 10 years in a row, and it's been submitted again for the year end 22, and we should be getting notice of it any week now. So we hope to get those favorable results again. The report is 141 pages long, and it is similar to a corporate annual report. I'm going to just talk generally about things, and then I'm going to talk about a few results and then open it up for you. So the next report that we audit is the report on federal award programs, and that is your single audit report. It's required anytime the town spends over $750,000 of federal monies, and then we're required to audit every program that exceeds $750,000 every third year. So this past year, we audited the special education cluster over at the schools and the coronavirus ARPA funds. Those were $1.7 million and $1.8 million respectively that were spent. The town expended $8.7 million in total of federal awards. 71% of those were spent by the school department, and that included a bunch of COVID-related funds that ended up at the school department that normally, so those aren't recurring type grants that will be there, but there are a lot of other mature programs at the schools like school lunch and Title I and a bunch of others, special education. There were 25 different programs listed on the report, and again, we audited the two programs that were required under the guidance, and we had no findings or question costs relating to those. And we also issued a management letter that is not required unless there are significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, which there were none, but we've had a couple of ongoing operational type comments that we've been following up on, and those three comments had to do with the status of the Munis conversion, the Munis student activity module that the town has taken a look at and decided it's not economically feasible at this point, and an update on the information technology audit that was performed by your internal auditors. And our recommendation with regards to that was just that the town follow up on those recommendations and implement them as soon as possible, and that is proceeding along acceptably. So our overall results, we had clean audit opinions in all the reports, no significant audit findings, full cooperation from management in all departments that we visited. We had no significant audit adjustments beyond the normal GAAP conversion entries, and the audits went according with plan, except for the fact that the cash reconciliations were held up a little bit last year, and we didn't get final reports to audit until the middle of December. So that set us back a couple of months in terms of finalizing things. Normally, we mark out a few weeks, these 2 weeks actually here in September, to do the bulk of the audit work. And so we got a lot of that done, virtually all of that done, but we weren't able to put the reports together until after the first of the year when those final reports became available. And then I'm just going to talk quickly about what's new in the financial statements this year. You got some new debt, $2 million bond anticipation note for the East Middle School, $5.2 million of governmental debt for schools, roadways, and various other projects throughout the town, $2.6 million for water and sewer improvements, and $185,000 for a golf dump truck and new mowers at the golf course. There were no new GASB statements this year that were required to be implemented. The biggest one this year was on leases, and it didn't affect the town because you don't have any significant leases that were required to be picked up under that. And the contribution to the OPEB plan, other post-employment retirement benefits, was $674,000 between the BELD and the town itself. I'm going to talk just mention the fact that the pension liability and the OPEB liabilities, these are new liabilities that have been put on the books over the last 7 years or so. The pension liability, the net pension liability of the town is $81 million, down $10.8 million from the prior year. The pension plan is 79% funded, and the return on investments for the last calendar year was 14%. So you had a good return on the investments and good results on the pension funding. Your OPEB funding, your total net pension liability is $179 million as of last year, and that was the the funds that are set aside to address that liability were $22 million. So you're about 11% funded in total, and that's, the BELD is funding ahead of the town, so they're 80% funded and the town is 7% funded. So the blended is about 11% funding on that. The results of your general fund, you ended the general, at the end of the year, general fund fund balance was $14.6 million, and the general fund increased by $2.9 million. $1.1 million of that is from revenues exceeding expenditures, mainly due to turnbacks that weren't expended, and your revenues came in higher than what you budgeted. I'll talk about that next. And the other piece was a $1.8 million transfer in from the BELD for operations. And then on a budgetary basis, and I'm going kind of fast because I know you want me to be quick, because I'm sure you're going to have some questions. The budgetary results, so the general fund is the actual budgetary results for the year. The budgetary results are how the actual results compare to what you budgeted at the beginning of the year. So the general fund revenues exceeded budget by $2.1 million, 1.4%, mainly from tax liens, hotel taxes, meal taxes, state aid, and department and other revenues, which is permits and things like that. And the actual expenditures, including carryovers of $2.5 million, were less than budget by $4.9 million. So that's really where the results, the positive results came back by those turnovers. And then your debt service as a percentage of your total budget, and I mention this every year because it's going up, and it should be going up because it was too low for a long time. The rating agencies recommend that that ratio be your debt service, principal and interest as a percentage of your total budget, be somewhere between 10 and 5%, or 5 and 10%, and you were at 6.6% this past year. So you're starting to borrow more money to build new schools and all kinds of good things around the town, and redo a lot of roads and water and sewer projects that were overdue for a long time. So, that's why that number is going up a little bit, and your debt service is going up at the same time. But it's, you mentioned the new school. The average interest rate on that borrowing, $59 million, is 1.9%. You do that today, you're going to be looking at 5 plus, maybe 6%. So that's a significant savings that you're going to realize on that school project. So that's really the presentation. I think it was a good year, a little later than we'd like it to come in, but the results were good, and management is staying on top of things. And, once we got everything together, we had no issues completing the audits. And again, we had no findings or question costs on the federal spending. And you're taking advantage of your COVID funds as best you can. So I'll take any questions that anyone might have.
I do want to recognize our Director of Finances with us this evening, Ed Spellman. So thank you for sticking with us tonight, Mr. Spellman. Councilor Ryan, did you have your hand raised?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. So, I've been doing this for a long time. I've had Mike Nelligan coming before us for a long time. Now, Romina, you've even been here for a few years now too. So it's might seem boring, but we're very lucky to have Powers and Sullivan doing this auditing for us to make sure that the town is doing our business correctly. And before it even gets to Powers and Sullivan, we're very lucky in the town of Braintree that we have Ed Spellman doing our finances. Ed has been here a very long time, doing a very good job, and I just want to say thank you, Ed, for all the work you do in the town. At my job, we have such a hard time hiring people to do jobs. Everybody needs people to do a good job, and we're so lucky in the town of Braintree that we have Ed Spellman doing our financials for us. So thank you, Ed. And it's, it's nice to see that we of course, we don't have enough money to do everything we want to do, as we all know, but it's nice to see that we're handling our money correctly and we're doing a good job. So thank you, folks, for coming here and telling us that tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Ryan. Any other questions? Councilor Maglio?
Question in terms of the timeline. When would it ordinarily be presented, an annual report about our finances? Like, September 23 for June 22, if none of the delays had happened and if everything had worked smoothly, when would we ordinarily expect to get this?
What we would like you to do is tell us when you want us to meet, and we will meet those deadlines. So if you pick a date, February, March, that you want us to come for a meeting, we'd like to schedule that meeting tentatively in advance, let us know what we should be working towards, and then we will report to you throughout the fall, letting you know how we're doing and whether we expect to be able to meet that date. Because that would be our preference, so that we know, because we're later this year than we've been in the past, because we all kind of dropped the ball on the management letter. We issued the two reports, the financial statement audit and the single audit report. We issued them dated as of March 17th. And then the management letter was just an update on a couple of comments from the prior year, and it didn't get completed because we just were waiting to hear about a meeting, and I communicated with Ed and said, you know, as soon as we know the meeting, I'll just finalize the letter and we'll come right over. And I was expecting that to happen sooner than later, and it didn't. And, you know, I know everybody's busy. I don't think any of us can be any busier than we already are, but that's kind of what happened. So it all of a sudden became the end of June, and that's when we got it finalized. Had I had a meeting in front of me, I would have worked harder to make sure that happened sooner.
Then what should we expect to get the year end for 2023?
Perfect question, because I did correspond with Mr. Nelligan about this issue. So my recommendation would be that come January, we decide, you know, when the right time would be. My preference would be before the budget season happens, before May, and work with Powers and Sullivan to pick a date that works for the Ways and Means Committee and the council, and work towards that date. So hopefully that helps answer that question. I think there are Powers and Sullivan is accommodating to that.
Yeah.
Without extension on December 31st. And then you have to, if you can't make that deadline, you have to request an extension every month thereafter. So we put this on 3 extensions last year. Our goal is to get it done by December 31st without putting it on extension. And that's Ed's goal as well. But the Munis conversion has been a lot to take on. And it's just, you know, like even right now, we're dealing with some cash reconciliation issues similar to last year. And the way that cash is being posted through the banks, some of the transactions aren't being identified by Munis like they should be. And your town accountant is spending a lot of time tracking these things down, trying to identify what they are. And Munis hasn't been completely helpful in that regard. They've been dragging their feet on solving those problems. So hopefully we're going to be soon, you know, done sooner this year than we were last year. That's our plan and our goal. I would really like to see it done without having to put it on extension. That would be ideal for us because, you know, we're starting to get into a new year again, and we don't want to be working on prior year things at that time either. So, but I think my recommendation is to set a date tentatively, and let's all work towards that date. And
we'll work with the clerk of the council to get that finalized for you. Appreciate that, and thank you, Councilor Maglio, for the question. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you for sticking with us this evening, and we appreciate all of your work. To echo the sentiments of Councilor Ryan, we really count on your expertise and appreciate all you do for the town. So thank you for being here this evening. Yeah.
okay, thanks. Good night.
All right, our new business is an announcement 23058 from the town clerk. Again, the call of the town election on November 7th, 2023, or take up any action relative thereto. We can expect to see this before us at our next council meeting on September 19th. So with that, is there a motion to move all measures under new business to their respective committees?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Councilors Ryan and Hume. Clerk Semino, roll call vote for referrals.
Counselor Baraka,
Yes.
Counselor Flaherty,
Aye.
Counselor Hume,
Aye.
Counselor Mackin.
Aye.
Counselor Maglio,
Aye.
Counselor O'Brien,
Aye.
Counselor Reynolds,
Aye.
Counselor Ryan.
Aye.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much. All right, our next regularly scheduled meeting will be on Tuesday, September 19th, 2023 at 7:30 PM. Thank you so much to the BCAM team for being here and getting our community and government meetings out to our residents. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you, Councilors Wright and Hume. Clerk Semino, roll call to adjourn.
Counselor Baraka,
Yes.
Counselor Flaherty,
Aye.
Counselor Hume, Counselor Mackin.
Aye.
Counselor Maglio,
Aye.
Counselor O'Brien,
Aye.
Counselor Reynolds,
Aye.
Counselor Ryan.
Aye.
8 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.